Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we are going to be treating character analysis of Iyaagba in Once Upon an Elephant. So without further ado, let's begin. Right, so we're starting with the theme of resistance. If you're familiar with my channel, you understand that I don't joke with theme. So that means that you should know by now that whenever we are treating a particular topic, I must put the theme. So, peradventure, you are asked the roles and significance of a particular character, you should know that you should start with the theme. So, your first paragraph should be the theme, and that's what we are beginning here. So, we have the theme of resistance. Iyaagba is the ultimate symbol of resistance. She doesn't need an army to challenge the king's tyranny. She uses her voice and cultural heritage by speaking in proverbs and music. She exposes his corruption and keeps the truth alive for everyone else. You don't need much, just basic. And so we go to the character description of Iyaagba. Iyaagba is the former queen and the oldest wife of the late king, that is Akinjobi. She was unable to give Akinjobi an heir. She is referred to as mad woman and was sent out of the palace. She knows the tradition and she knows exactly what Ajanoko and Shiribawa are up to. She is the moral compass of the whole community. There is not much to talk about here because we don't have much of a description, but because it is important that we put something in the second paragraph, which is the character description, okay, then everything that you know about her, she's married, if she's not married anymore, she has children, how many children does she have, she's a wife to woo, she's a friend to woo, all right, those are the things that you put in the character description. Now we go to her roles. She's the voice of truth. While everyone else is scared of Ajanaku, Iyada speaks the truth. Ajanaku calls himself the elephant to show how strong and unstoppable he is. But Iyada uses her words to show that he's actually weak because he is proud. She uses proverbs and warnings to tell him and the audience that his reign of terror won't last forever. So if there's anything that Iyada, if there's any role that Iyaagba played in this play, it is being the voice of truth. With Proverbs and the song about the elephant, I'm sure that you all remember the story of the elephant and the tortoise, how that the tortoise wanted to bring down the elephant and then lied to the elephant that he was going to make him the king and that everyone is ready for him and that his throne is set. All he needs to do is just come and sit on the throne and be the king, not knowing that a huge and big hole had been dug just in front of the throne, and it has been laid covered with a cloth and beautiful mat. So he just thought that, oh, he's just going to sit on the throne. And then he got to the hole and he fell inside and was buried. And that was how the village, the animal kingdom, rested from his tyranny. And so Yaga would continually sing this particular song about the elephant, telling him and invariably the audience that the end of Adanoku is very, very near. And it can also mean that um, him being the elephant is just being chosen to be the Oba. He's just being chosen to be the king. Okay, that him taking the position of the king means downfall for him. Another role of Iyaagba is that she is a protector. Iyaagba isn't just a talker, she's a protector. When the character Desola is suffering due to the Jedudu rights, Iyaagba steps in to stop it. She cares about human dignity. While the men in power are busy playing dirty politics, she's busy trying to save lives and keep the culture from becoming toxic. So Iyaba is not new to the system. She knows all of these rights and why this right must not happen. And so she automatically knew what had happened to Desola, even when others didn't know. And because of the love and the concern that Iyaba has for the community, she decided, and the special love that she has for Desola, she already knows that Desola is suffering from this particular thing, the Ijedudu rights. And then she decided to put an end to it and make sure that Desola gets her life back by all means. Now, another rule is that Iyaga is the voice of change. Now, even when the king tries to kick her out, she doesn't give up. She becomes a rebel. She shows up at festivals and public meetings to remind the citizens that they have rights and that they shouldn't be afraid. She is the spark that starts the fire of rebellion. She helps others like Odekunle and Desola find their courage. When she tells Odekunle to use the charmed red clothes against Ajanaku, she's literally handing over the tools to take the tyrants down. If you recall, and for those of you that have read the text, you recall that Iyaagba would barge into the palace and confront Ajanaku about all of his misdeeds. And then she also decided that she was going to help resolve, the Jedozo rights and what had been happening in the community. And then she tells Odekunle what to do, okay, as well as Desola. All right. So she's always advocating for change, knowing fully well that Ajanaku is not the right or is not the suitable person for that throne. Yes, another role is that she is a moral compass. A moral compass is someone that will always seek for the truth, will always go for the truth, would not stop at any length to make sure that the truth prevails, right? So she's a moral compass, and she calls out the fact that Ajanaku has a hand in the death of Akinjobi and tells him his end is near. She challenges Ajanaku on the fact that he forcefully takes what belongs to another man and that Delani's pregnancy isn't his. Okay, now she let him know that he is a bastard and she fought for Delany to regain her freedom. In fact, look, everything, if she sees everything or anything that is wrong in the community, she calls it out. She doesn't waste time, she calls it out. And so, even to the king, she goes to the palace and challenge, like, look, you want to start rearing a bastard son. You are a bastard yourself. You want to start rearing another bastard. That is not going to happen. Okay? And then she reminded Ajanaku how that the wife that Ajanaku has in his palace belonged to another person who had worked so hard to make sure that Delany becomes his wife. But you can have a question like this, that you should justify or explain Iyaagba as a moral compass in the play. Look, all of these points, just put all of these points down, expatiate on it in paragraphs, and then you're good to go. You might be asked to justify Iyaagba as a moral compass in the play. Okay, you have all the points here that you can use, to explain her as a moral compass. You just start with the theme and then the character description, and then you start to explain the moral compass, like the wrongs that she tried to correct. Each of the wrongs that she tried to correct, you just put it in different paragraphs. Say maybe like 4 paragraphs, you put different, wrongs that she tried to correct in different paragraphs, and the last paragraph you conclude. Okay, so this is beyond character description, or this is beyond character analysis. Do you understand? It can pass as it can serve as answer to other questions if you pay attention. So I believe that by now you should have a note, okay, because you can't keep coming to this video over and over again. You should have a note, okay, that you will write all of this. To make sure Desola takes her life back from Ajanoku, you remember how that Desola hugged Ajanoku, okay, and fell on the throne, and then she sneezes and wakes up. Okay, she makes sure justice is served by working with the rest of the villagers to put an end to Ajanoku. Like, it's over, it's okay. The one that you have done on the throne is the injustice that you have done so far on this throne is okay. It's time for you to leave the throne. And of course, you know that Ajanaku is not the kind of character that would want to leave willingly. So it's just best that it goes like that. She wants the second queen to desist from committing adultery with Sherubaon. Now, you remember that that was the genesis of Iyaagba being sent out of the palace, because Sherubaon and the second queen know for a fact that Iyaagba is aware of their atrocity, and then they wanted her out of the palace. Okay, and she constantly calls Ajanaku out and warns him through a song that his end is near. If you recall that I told you the story of the tortoise and the elephant. Okay, so she keeps repeating the song just to let him know that he will soon fall. And then we go to significance of Iyaagba. She represents bravery and wisdom. Her character teaches us that as long as there are people willing to stand up for what's right, justice can always be restored. And with that, we have come to the end of roles and significance of Iyaagba.